Welcome to ESPN College Football presented by Cars.com. Today we come to you from Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina, as the Tigers host Georgia Tech. Clemson, better known as Death Valley, an appropriate name since football in this town is for many fans life and death. Also appropriate symbols for the varying emotions this week, with head coach Tommy Bowden stepping down on Monday. Some will miss him, many others glad the move was made, and for them and for him, there is new life this week. Dabo Swinney takes over as the interim head coach and begins his first game leading a storied tradition in college football. Swinney had been the wide receivers coach the last 6 years. He's implemented many new traditions this week, and we'll document that coming up. Not forgotten in the emotion of this week, Swinney's opponent, Georgia Tech, led by Paul Johnson, 5-1 with that dangerous triple option offense.
Definitely a team that you don't want to let get going. Paul Johnson, very well respected in the college ranks and just a winner everywhere he's been. Dabo Swinney, telling you what, if there's a guy ready for this task, it's Dabo Swinney. He is a head coach in the making.
The clouds have given way to sunshine here on Swinney's debut as head coach at Clemson. Temperature in the mid-60s. Beautiful day for college football as Clemson looks to get untracked 3-3, 1-2 in the ACC. Big reason why Tommy Bowden resigned, although many feel he was forced out this week. Clemson will start with the ball. Jacoby Ford will return the kick past the 15-yard line and a big drill. Swinney talked to his team before we kicked off, and we were there.
We talked about last night. We're an underdog in Death Valley. Are you kidding me? An underdog in Death Valley? That's embarrassing. What are we going to do about it? And I'll tell you this, too. If I could go to the middle of that field right now, and they came over and they said, okay, now listen, you can be the head coach today in your first game. Nobody knows anything. You get to choose the team. I choose this team every time.
We'll talk more about how everything went down this week as we sat with Swinney for about an hour. He pitches, Corn does, the starting quarterback for this game, to James Davis, and lost a couple yardage. Corn making his first start. He's one of our impact players for the Tigers.
Yeah, Willie Corn will lead Clemson today as a redshirt freshman, 77% passer. He's up for the task. He's played in many big games in high school. James Davis, just an outstanding running back. First team All-ACC 2 straight years. And Jacoby Ford, hey, need I say more, just a playmaker on the offensive side of the ball.
Corn won 3 state championships in high school, replacing Cullen Harper, the preseason ACC Player of the Year. He finds Michael Palmer. Remember, Harper was benched by Tommy Bowden last week, and then Corn was named starting quarterback, and that obviously did not change when the move was made and Swinney was named head coach.
Yeah, you know, he's a guy that 77% passer. He's played a little bit this season already. 156 yards and a touchdown pass. Actually, 2 touchdown passes to go along with it. That's for his career numbers there. An outstanding talent, very highly recruited player out of high school.
5th game at first start, and he's facing a 3rd down and 6 on his opening possession. Corn has to step away from trouble, and he's going to get leveled at the 21 by big Michael Johnson, but there is a penalty flag.
Yeah, this is in the area of holding, and they've had a lot of adjustments along that offensive line. This is the first time all season that they've had the same 5 guys in those spots in consecutive weeks.
Holding, 6 offense. That penalty's refused. 4th down.
So 3 and out for Clemson on its first offensive possession of the Dabo Swinney era. Swinney said, you know, I may be here for 7 weeks, but I'm going to make it about the kids. I'm going to put everything I got into this week and this season to try to prove to Athletic Director Terry Don Phillips that I deserve to be the head coach.
Yeah, in this community, the Clemson family have really gotten behind and supported Dabo Swinney in this 4-day period in which he had to prepare for this game. So I'm just wondering how they're going to be once the emotion of kickoff kind of wears off.
Off the side of the foot of true freshman Dawson Zimmerman, and Georgia Tech is going to have very good starting field position at the 43-yard line. Let's take a look at Georgia Tech's impact players, led by Josh Nesbitt, is back after missing the last 2 games with a hamstring injury.
Yeah, he's had that strained hamstring. He's the quarterback that makes this triple option attack go, a dual threat to both run and throw it. We talk about on the defensive side of the football, just a freak defensively. Michael Johnson on everybody's draft board, maybe a top 5 player. And Derek Morgan on the other side, outstanding sophomore with 6.5 sacks coming into this ball game.
Last week, Georgia Tech barely beat Gardner-Webb, was held to under 80 yards rushing, but Nesbitt did not play in that game, and he's starting this one, and he gets a handful on 1st and 10, knocked down by Brandon May.
Well, he's got a really good grasp of Paul Johnson's offense. Just 48% on the year, but he's been banged up. The hamstring you mentioned, Dave, has kind of limited him the last couple of games. But he's back in the lineup, and the guy to really watch, Jonathan Dwyer, who really makes this offense go. Already 575 yards and averages 6.5 yards a carry.
Nesbitt on the keeper, spun down after minimal gain, maybe a yard. Ricky Sapp and Cavell Connor on the tackle for Clemson.
Well, they call it the triple option, and the fullback, it starts with Jonathan Dwyer in the middle, Josh Nesbitt as well, but that means triple option just means you've got 3 opportunities to make a mistake, and Paul Johnson in this offense will make you pay. Defensively, you've got to just play your position, play your area. A lot of one-on-one tackling will have to take place. You can't rally to the football because if you get out of position, Georgia Tech will make you pay.
Pass play here, Nesbitt hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. Pressure coming from Darrell Scott. 3 and out for Georgia Tech.
Well, Darrell Scott, an Outland Trophy candidate, came into his own this season. He's second among the active Tigers in sacks and got close to picking up another one there on Josh Nesbitt.
So Scott Blair will come on to boot it away. And 2 players back, Jacoby Ford and Marcus Gilchrist for Clemson. Ford going to let this one bounce, and it almost hit a Clemson player out of bounds. The Tigers will have it at the 18-yard line. Well, the fans with some implementations this week, including new T-shirts saying Yabba Dabo Do. There's a sign here in the stadium promoting the new head coach of the Clemson Tigers.
This is the one I want. Cars.com had me prepared before I came in. Smart. Yeah.
Sunday Night Football on NASN. First up, the Buffalo Bills are getting it done in the AFC East as they host the Chargers. Then in the NFC, Aaron Rodgers struggles to recapture early season form as the Packers welcome the Colts. And finally, the Seahawks travel to Tampa in fighting spirits after a slow start to their campaign. A live NFL tripleheader. Coverage starts with ESPN's NFL Countdown. This Sunday, only on NASN.
GameDay.com is your destination for everything game day. Get closer to the guys.
Not so fast, my friend.
Sneak behind the scenes of the set and check out the latest on the game day matchup. Log on to collegegameday.com now.
Throws it down. Caught by Boston College. I don't believe it. Touchdown, Sun Devils. Woo! The snake does it again. Frost to the middle. Juggle. Diving. Touchdown, Nebraska. Davison on the deflection. Touchdown. Touchdown. Michael Jenkins. Holy Buckeye.
Georgia Tech are scoreless. Each team going 3 and out on offense. Dabo Swinney, his first game as head coach on an interim basis. He was the wide receivers coach the last 6 years, taking over for Tommy Bowden, who resigned this week. James Davis fumbles the ball. It squirts back to Korn, and he's tackled at the 14-yard line. You know, Andre, a lot of times when we have interviews with coaches, as we do on every Friday, we spend maybe 15, 20 minutes with a head coach. Dabo Swinney talked for an hour and 10 minutes. We could not get him to stop. He is so fired up about this. Not only the opportunity to be a head coach, but to change the way things have been going at Clemson, because he feels they can do better than they have.
I knew he had to have been charting something. I asked him if he kept a head coaching playbook, so to speak, and he said, yeah, you know, that's exactly what I've done, taking little bits and pieces along the way to prepare myself for this day. And let me tell you, I was totally impressed with Dabo Swinney.
Korn's throw across the middle is caught at the 20-yard line. Forward progress stopped immediately. The fans wanted flags after Aaron Kelly was shoved down. We mentioned that Dabo Swinney has implemented some new material this week. This is a first. The inaugural Tiger Walk, as the players dressed in suits for the first time. No iPods or anything like that allowed, as well as they walk to the stadium. And then this as well, a mini Tiger Walk as they walk from the 30-yard line into the end zone. And Dabo telling us all in. That is my mantra for this football team. And he said, if you're not all in as a player, you got one last chance to get out. Bad snap on the run, Korn, and his throw incomplete. Another 3 and out for Clemson. Kyle Jackson with pressure.
Going to take some adjustment. Billy Napier, their quarterback coach, as well as sharing those play calling responsibilities with Dabo Swinney. It kind of goes from Billy Napier through Dabo Swinney. He has the ability to cancel or go with what plays called. And right now it seems to be just a little bit mixing up of the quarterback center exchange. James Davis putting the football on the ground. Clemson's going to have to get some things ironed out offensively.
Well, you talked about the play calling changing. Rob Spence, the offensive coordinator, was fired this week after Tommy Bowden resigned. Although, again, a lot of people feel Bowden was forced out. And as Melton muffs it but recovers it at midfield. In fact, talking with some of the coaches yesterday, you got the sense that they would have been fired anyway after the Georgia Tech game. So maybe that was preempted by Bowden resigning this week. No score early at Clemson. Leading the first Tiger Walk. All the players are in suits. And Swinney adopting this from his days as a player at Alabama for Gene Stallings, and said guys used to have to get ties and belts and socks to match the suits they had from other players. Looks like that last guy walked in, borrowed something from your wardrobe, Andre.
He's sharp, wasn't he?
First man through gets the carry. It's Dwyer, and he gets only a couple yards.
And on to number 21, Jonathan.
Well, we mentioned the fact that you know, with the fullback, that's where this all starts, with Jonathan Dwyer. And in the middle of that deal, you see the average field position right now. It's in the favor of Georgia Tech. So field position battle favors the Yellow Jackets early. But Jonathan Dwyer going to have a tremendous effect on this football game. And Clemson so far has done a pretty good job of keeping him in check.
Again, first man through, Dwyer. Inside the 45, down to about the 44. Tackled by Cavell Connor.
A lot of people in the ACC didn't feel like Georgia Tech or this type of offense would work in the ACC. And you see the critics, can't work in the ACC, doesn't produce big plays, can't score quickly. I think they put all those to rest in the first 6 games of the season under Paul Johnson.
Yeah, Dwyer has an 88-yard touchdown run this year and a 79-yard touchdown catch. Dwyer on third down, doesn't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Good push by Clemson up front, led by Daquan Bowers.
Well, Daquan Bowers is just, you know, you got to play your position and not get yourself kind of strung out and away from everything. You see right there just kind of crashing down inside as well. Darrell Scott in there helping out, and Paul Johnson going to be the first coach to gamble in this game, going for it here on 4th down.
Maybe they're just trying to draw Clemson offside.
Looks exactly like that's what's happening.
They take the delay of game.
I've always wondered as a head coach, I said, you know, if I'm ever coaching and someone's trying to put, take that penalty on purpose, I might decline it, because now you're just trying to find room for your punter to land it inside the 20-yard line and just keep them uncomfortable.
Offense, 5-yard penalty. It's still 4th down.
So coaches always take this penalty.
Coming up later today, you'll see either Kansas try to stay undefeated in Big 12 play when they take on Oklahoma. Believe it or not, Oklahoma is 4th place in its own division because Texas Tech, Texas, and Oklahoma State undefeated. Also Ohio State and Michigan State. College football presented by Best Buy on ABC today at 3:30 Eastern Time. Scott Blair gets that one away. Ford going to let it bounce, and that came close to hitting a Clemson player again. It's down by Georgia Tech at the 16-yard line. It's an 0-3. Remember, they were 9th at one point this year. Running play to Jamie Harper, true freshman. He didn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Robert Hall there for Georgia Tech. Wake Forest on top of the Atlantic. Clemson picked to win the Atlantic and win the ACC. They were preseason number 9. And to the Coastal Virginia Tech, a block punt against East Carolina, away from being perfect.
Yeah, I tell you what, they've done a pretty good job of kind of getting that thing back in order. The first game of the season, he dropped to East Carolina, but Frank Beamer, good football coach, has got his team going.
Meanwhile, 3 tackles for a loss already for Georgia Tech. They lead the nation in that category. Here's Coyne throwing downfield. It's caught. First down of the game as Aaron Kelly pulls it in.
Look at Willie Corn here. First big-time throw in this football game. And Clemson quarterback since 1979. 14-5 the starters. 14-5. That's pretty good stuff.
One of the reasons Cullen Harper is not starting is he's expected to undergo surgery either later this season or after the season for a left shoulder problem. This is going to be a pass, and he throws it right to a Georgia Tech player. It's picked off by Dominique Reese, and he's going to take it in. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. Tyler Grisham on an end around, threw it, and he gave it right to Dominique Reese. Bad decision by Grisham there as he was getting pulled down. And Dominique Reese with a pick 6.
Well, Tyler Grisham wishes that he had this one back, just trying to throw the football away, and he threw it back in the middle of the field as opposed to the sideline where you just throw it out of bounds.
Scott Blair's point after is good. And it's 7-0 Georgia Tech.
Take a look here. Tyler Grisham right here in a little bit of trouble. Goes back across the middle. And at the end result is a touchdown reception from Dominique Reese. Georgia Tech on top, 7-0.
Hey, I don't know when I'm supposed to do this. Coach,
First game I got to go against Georgia Tech, Paul Johnson. I don't have C.J. Phillips. I think he's going to play second half. We're still working on it. Yeah, well, we're going to have fun. I'm a coach for 7-week tenure, but we're going to have fun. Every chance to get through this. All right.
You saw C.J. Spiller. They're out with a hamstring injury. And talking with Dabo Sweeney yesterday, he said, look, guys, I'm a coach with nothing to lose. And I guess when you have nothing to lose, you're going to run reverse passes. And that seemed to be a mistake, though. Certainly the throw was as Jacoby Ford burst through a seam out past the 35. Tackled by the kicker, Scott Blair. All right, Reese, keep an eye on those games. Here's the quarterback, Willie Corn, across the 40 to the 42.
Let's go back and take a look at the reverse pass by Tyler Grisham that ends in a interception right here. Throw the football to the sideline. You throw it right in the middle of the field to Dominique Reese. It gets returned for a touchdown. You know, I'm one that believes when you run those trick plays when you have a lead, not when you're trying to build offense. Billy Napier, the offense, actually calling plays today, funneling them through Dabo Sweeney, but a little bit early for trickery.
Here's Corn, a late pitch. And down goes Davis at the 45-yard line. Actually, that was Ford on the carry.
Yeah, kind of bringing him around, and they like to get the football in Jacoby Ford's hands. He is just a flat-out playmaker. And Willie Corn, you saw him run the football on first down. He's a guy, they like his athletic ability, his legs, his ability to make plays with his legs when things break down.
And that's one of the reasons why he's in there. Harper with that left shoulder injury, non-throwing shoulder, but the coaching staff didn't feel as if he was being as aggressive running the ball because he was worried about that shoulder and further injury. Here's a big 3rd and 1 for Clemson. Here's Davis, left edge. And he has the first down.
Texas Tech and Texas A&M, they've been going back and forth for the last few years.
Here's another end around. This is Ford and Georgia Tech all over it. Now, Andre, why would you start running all this stuff here? Well, this is your first game calling plays. Really, for Billy Napier, he's only done it 1 year, and that was at South Carolina State. Dabo Swinney has not done it before.
I agree with you. When you're trying to establish yourself offensively, and James Davis, they put him at behind the court, behind the center, and direct snap it to him. But a lot of too much trickery going on. Let's establish some offense. Willie Corn in his first start, your first game as a head coach. Let's get the basics down first, get ourselves a lead, then go to all the other stuff. Yeah, you just got to basically line up, try to knock Georgia Tech off the football, and establish some type of physical presence first before you go to all the edge stuff.
One of the criticisms of Clemson.
Thrown for illegal numbering, not enough players on the line of scrimmage with lineman numbers. However, there was unbalanced formation. There is no foul.
All right, thanks for clearing that up. One of the criticisms of Clemson under Tommy Bowden and Rob Spence, who was fired this week as offensive coordinator, was Clemson has been too traditional, too conservative. But this seems to be going the way far other end of the spectrum. You've already had 3 trick plays.
Well, you got to establish what you do and what you do best first and foremost. That's James Davis coming downhill. When you're trying to run laterally, east and west against Michael Johnson and Derek Morgan, I think you're fighting a lost cause because those are 2 really good edge players.
Here's Corn on the quarterback draw. No running room against that great front 4 for Georgia Tech. Vance Walker, preseason All-American, makes the play along with Kyle Jackson. Right now, Dabo Swinney struggling in his first game as Clemson head coach. His team down 7-0. Ahead, Andre will wear it out on mid-season coaching changes. In fact, we've got 2 editions of Andre's Wear It Out today. Later, 10 top 25 teams in action today on the ESPN family of networks, including tonight, Texas and Missouri on ABC. 3rd down and 14. Corn, his arm hit, and the ball flutters in the air, and it's intercepted again. Rashad Reed with the pick.
Looked like Derek Morgan, the sophomore star off the edge, and we just talked about him. He can make plays. You see him right here in the corner of your screen. Watch the pass rush, and he beats Landon Walker underneath and around the outside, gets to Willie Corn and forces the ball up into the arms of Rashad Reed, and Georgia Tech going to take over with some pretty good field position. You talking about 2 really good pass rushers. Georgia Tech has them on the edge.
Here's Nesbitt, the late pitch to Lucas Cox inside the 45-yard line. You know, Paul Johnson told us if we can weather that initial emotional storm that we'll see out of the Clemson Tigers, we're going to be okay. And they have weathered it so far.
A lot of emotion. The stadium was on fire. A lot of Clemson fans involved in it. You talk about the Tiger Walk and all the new stuff that Dabo Swinney has implemented here. And to Paul Johnson during the week, he knew that it would be this type of atmosphere. So, look, we just got to weather the storm early. They seem to be settled in pretty well.
They don't even have a first down yet. They're leading 7-0. Here's Dwyer. Makes a great move inside, spinning Michael Hamlin around and picking up the first down. Bowers with the tackle downfield. Chris Clemons there as well.
Well, Dwyer is a guy that was just phenomenal in the state of Georgia. His senior year led the state in rushing over 1,800 yards, 21 touchdowns as a high school senior. And you talk about can flat out get it done. He plays the B-back position, which is essentially the fullback. But he came out of high school as a halfback, and I think you saw a few halfback moves on that last run.
Big kid, 230. Averaging close to 100 yards a game. Nesbitt with that late pitch to Roddy Jones, a freshman. He's out of bounds at the 30-yard line, so he got another 5 yards. Scotty Cooper pushed him out.
Mentioned the fact that Dwyer led the state in rushing his senior year. Guess who was second in the state with 1,776 yards? Roddy Jones. So a lot of talent in that Georgia Tech backfield. And Josh Nesbitt, he was highly recruited as well. So those three guys make up the trio for Paul Johnson in this triple option attack.
Johnson taking over for Chan Gailey, who was let go last year, now the offensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs. Nesbitt leveled by Ricky Sapp and pinned at the 32.
Well, they talked about Ricky Sapp. He's a big-time player, high motor guy at 4.5 speed in the 40. And watch him play the option here. You got to engage it now. You got quarterback and you got pitch responsibility on the outside. He takes the quarterback. Nice play by Ricky Sapp.
Nesbitt with the pitch to Dwyer. Knocked down. And it'll be 4th down. Byron Maxwell made the play for Clemson.
Well, it's amazing what emotion and momentum and how it affects the football game. You get a big play on the other side by Ricky Sapp, and then all of a sudden you get everybody else involved and making plays defensively as well. And all of a sudden the level of play kind of goes up. You feel the fans as a football player when you're down there. Clemson going to hold Georgia Tech here to a field goal attempt.
Yeah, it's going to be better than 50 yards for Scott Blair, who has made 5 consecutive field goals, but he started off poorly. And this one's no good. Missed it wide left.
No harm done. Interception for naught. They're going to get some nice field position out of this, as well are the Clemson Tigers. And now you just got to settle Willie Corn down as well as that offensive line. Don't put too much pressure on him. Hey, let's line up, give him a high dosage of James Davis coming downhill and see if we can move the line of scrimmage.
You know, Andre, we mentioned that Cullen Harper has that left shoulder injury, but he is available today. He's in uniform.
Yeah.
And Cullen Harper is going to go run this series here.
Yeah, it looked like Willie Corn and that last pass deflection. Derek Morgan got to him. He may be having some shoulder issues as well.
Harper going to hand off to James Davis. He gets a couple to the 36. A controversial comment this week by quarterback Cullen Harper, who was benched by Tommy Bowden when he heard the news that Bowden resigned. Again, many people believe he was just forced out. He said, quote, "It's what he deserved. Dabo Swinney is a fine man and will do an excellent job." Harper tried to retract that statement, tried to soften a little bit, but it just comes off as immature, insensitive,
I'll tell you,
and inappropriate.
He's a senior quarterback trying to get the attention of the NFL scouts. That's not one way you want to get them, where you get yourself red flagged before you're able to even work out for him.
Harper tried to hit Davis coming out of the backfield. It's incomplete. It'll bring up 3rd down and long. Cedric Griffin with pressure. I mentioned C.J. Spiller is not available today due to a hamstring injury, and his comment almost as controversial. I enjoyed playing for Coach Bowden, but in the end he was yelling at us to be leaders, and it wasn't working. I think part of the problem was when he benched Cullen. He fired the quarterback, then he got fired.
Hey, just, you know, it's just no place for this. And you know, you gotta wonder who gets to the kids in this situation and kind of quiets them down. You know, hey, you don't need to speak to the media. We don't need your emotions in this. And you know, they're 18, 19-year-old kids. Bad decisions by both those guys and bad comments.
Harper on 3rd down, fires to Davis. Nothing going to happen there. Davis leveled by Reed for a loss on the play. That was Jamie Harper on the catch, so Clemson will have to punt it away.
Georgia Tech defensively, and we forget that, hey, they're 6th in the entire country defensively, only allowing 255 yards a game. And it starts on the edge, and we keep talking about it. The players, Michael Johnson and Derek Morgan, 2 outstanding defensive ends. They make all the difference. Got a pretty good one inside as well in Vance Walker, the senior defensive tackle. So Georgia Tech.
One clock. There was a timeout. Georgia Tech with 1 second on the clock. Their first timeout of the half.
Interesting timeout called by Paul Johnson with 1 second to go in the first quarter when Clemson is punting the ball. There's no wind here. It's not as if you're going to change how far you kick it. Well, we gave you one side of the spectrum with Harper and Spiller's comments. James Davis for Clemson thought differently about Tommy Bowden.
What hurts the most?
You know, Coach Bowden, he always goes straight forward with me, no matter what.
That's what coaching is all about right there. And you see the emotion in James Davis and his love for his head coach, Tommy Bowden.
Maynard's just got that kick away, almost got it blocked by Michael Johnson. How about Michael Johnson, 6'7", coming off the edge.
He's a player.
What an athlete. Georgia Tech will start at its 24-yard line when we start the second quarter. A rough first period for Clemson. And Willie Corn in his first start at quarterback. Will he be back? And can the Tigers come back? 7-0 they trail. An emotional beginning to today's game, but it's deathly quiet now in Death Valley, Howard's Rock. Frank Howard, one of the all-time winningest coaches at Clemson, an Alabama guy. Dabo Swinney, an Alabama guy, played on the national title team in '92 for Gene Stallings. And so far, his first game as a head coach in college football not going well. His team trails 7-0. Here's Roddy Jones, and he gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's it. Brandon May there for Clemson.
Absolute fantastic play. We talk about being able to make one-on-one tackles, and you can't leave your area of the field against Paul Johnson in this triple option. And I'll tell you what, Brandon May right there, he didn't get fooled. They ran a little misdirection play. Brandon May right there to clean up things. Boy, you talk about one of the better in-game coaches in all of college football. It's that man, Paul Johnson, in my opinion.
He talked lonely about his defense, and yet again, they do not give up a first quarter touchdown. Only 3 points allowed in the first quarter this year. Nesbitt hammered down by Scotty Cooper. Also there, Courtney Brown for the Tigers. It'll bring up third down.
Well, he won at the Naval Academy. Took him to, I think it's been like 5 straight bowl games while he was there. And I often said that if he got a bigger playroom with better toys, that he was going to be a fantastic football coach. When everybody said his system wouldn't work in the ACC, hey, they're off to a 5-1 start, and they look pretty good this season. By the way, those toys got a little bit better as well.
As we're seeing today. Here's third down. Nesbitt wrapped up in the backfield. Darrell Scott makes another play for Clemson.
Just wondered about the challenge defensively and facing this offense of Georgia Tech, and you got to be sound defensively. Right there, Darrell Scott, watch him play, shuns off the blocker, and right here, pursuit to the quarterback, and now a bunch of other orange jerseys showing up to help him out. Not until you get a hand on the ball carrier can you leave your responsibility. Excellent job of playing the option by the defensive tackle, Darrell Scott.
Boy, Clemson has some mammoth defensive tackles. Both starters are 6'4", 320. Here's Jacoby Ford, and great balance to put the hand down and get an extra 5 yards, but eventually tripped up at the 35-yard line by Blackwood. Take a look at our Aflac trivia question for today's game. Other than Georgia Tech, how many FBS schools do not use the word university in their title? And I'm going to give you a hint, Andre. Paul Johnson has a tie to one of them.
Yep, and you know what? I have to poke my chest out a little bit because I know the answer to this one.
You knew it even before we showed you what the answer was.
That's right. It was discussed this, a little bit in the truck this morning, and bam, got you.
Cullen Harper playing quarterback for the second series, and the pass caught by Tyler Grisham. Dabo Swinney told us that at some point in his tenure, Cullen Harper was going to have to be a factor, and he's already playing here in the first half.
I mean, look at the 5 possessions so far for the Clemson offense, 3 punts and 2 interceptions. Not a way you want to get a game started by the first game head coach Dabo Swinney, but seems to have a little rhythm now with Cullen Harper.
Harper, the ACC preseason player of the year. He started the last 19 games, set a school record in touchdown passes last year. Struggled this year with only 4 TDs and 6 interceptions. Here's Ford, who gets hammered at the 39-yard line by safety Morgan Burnett. Loss on the play. On 3rd down, Harper's pass incomplete. Michael Palmer could not come up with it. Looked like it would have been a first down. Instead, Clemson will punt.
Yeah, defending on the play, Rashid Reed, he's already come up with 1 interception in this ball game, but true freshman who's plays in Georgia Tech's nickel package, and he almost came up with his second one, tried to undercut, and looks like Michael Johnson, the big-time star senior defensive end, he may be a little bit shaken up on the sideline for Georgia Tech.
And he's a big-time special teams player as well, blocking punts and kicks. He almost blocked the last punt by Jimmy Maynard, so no Johnson for this punt. Roddy Jones back for the Yellow Jackets. And that's got to be interference, and a flag does come in. Jones tackled at the 25 after the muff. Cody Sensabaugh ran into Jones that time.
Yeah, this is going to be the interference penalty here. They're going to get some additional yardage and better field position to start their next drive, but you got to be a little bit smarter, locate the football.
Interference, number 10 in the kicking team, 15 the penalty, first down.
Once again, Georgia Tech will start near midfield. Georgia Tech leading in Clemson, South Carolina 7-0. No, that's not Andre Ware's pad. That's actually the president of Clemson. We're going over there for some tea. And offense, we've had 35 plays so far in this game and only 1 play over 10 yards. That was a 17-yard pass by Clemson.
And we saw the breakup of runs versus passing in terms of yards. And with Georgia Tech, and if they have a lead, you're not going to see much the football in the air much. They're just willing to just grind it out and make plays on the ground.
How about the fact that Georgia Tech has no catches on offense, but they have 2 on defense? 2 interceptions in this game. Josh Nesbitt, the sophomore quarterback for Georgia Tech. Dwyer behind him. Nesbitt gonna keep. And he's out near midfield for a gain of about 7 yards. Spun down by Bowers. Well, Terry Bowden, Tommy's brother, the former Auburn coach who resigned 10 years ago, almost to the day at Auburn, said this when he was asked, did Tommy Bowden deserve what happened to him Monday? Unfortunately, yes. He's surprised by that.
Very much so. I mean, we all know the expectations when we take jobs, but, you know, especially from family members, some things are better left unsaid. And I think that was that should have been the case for Terry Bowden in this situation.
Well, as mentioned,
kind of surprised me actually with the comment.
Again, as you said, there's a time and a place maybe for that, but I don't know if that was it. And I think I understand the meaning behind it. Is David Brown, the right tackle, is shaken up for Georgia Tech. He's just trying to be honest, but it doesn't put your brother in a good light.
Yeah, but family's one thing, and we know how close, or it seems that the Bowden family is. That may be one for a discussion when the 2 brothers and dad get to have a little time in the off season. I'm not sure I make that statement publicly about my brother, to be quite honest.
Speaking of Pops, Bobby Bowden with a much different reaction than Terry.
He called me and told me it was official. That's when he told me he was going to meet with his staff, then meet with his ball club. Oh, he'll handle it good. Tommy wasn't going to coach forever. Tommy's like me, not like me. You know, I mean, he was one of those guys that was thinking a couple of years down the road anyway. I don't have to worry about him beating me no more. I know that.
He's done pretty well against Bobby lately.
Really
also
has.
had a 7-2 record against intrastate rival South Carolina.
You know what? And that's all that needed to be said right there. That is all that needed to be said. And that's being honest.
2nd down and 2. Georgia Tech leading 7-0. First man through gets the carry, and it's going to be a first down to the 48-yard line. Dwyer picking it up for the Yellow Jackets.
Well, take a look here. Since Ken Hatfield was the coach, we've got kind of a pecking order. Tommy West was fired November 1998. He was allowed to finish the season. Then the resignation of Tommy Bowden on Monday. Dabo Sweeney taking over, and in his first game as the Clemson head coach.
Well, one of the other comments Terry Bowden made was, you know, when you get hired at a place like Clemson, you're expected to win an ACC championship. As the ball comes out, and it looks like Clemson got it at the 41-yard line. Brandon May for the Tigers pounced on it.
And it was Brandon Thompson, the freshman from Thomasville, Georgia, who put a helmet right on the football, it seemed. Got a little help as well from Daquan Bowers. And we'll see it right here. They're trying to go to Jonathan Dwyer, the fullback, right up the middle. Gets a helmet right on the football.
Butler tried to pick it up there.
Almost able to come up with it, but yeah.
He tried to pick it up and run with it. He's lucky that a teammate recovered right there. Clemson quickly to the line to run a play, and bursting through a hole up the middle is true freshman Jamie Harper, getting a chance to get carries today with the injury to C.J. Spiller.
Yeah, he is a mixture. We hear so much about thunder and lightning and James Davis and C.J. Spiller. He's the mix of both those guys. 5'11", 235, bigger back, but can flat out run. Was on the state title team in the 4x100 meters in high school, so he's a speedster.
Colin Harper out there for his third series at quarterback, and some movement on the offensive line as Darrell Richard just shoved a Clemson offensive lineman.
Well, they're so good along that defensive line, and yards are going to come hard for Clemson.
Offside by contact, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Yeah, now you're getting that old thing that you talked about earlier, Dave, emotion back into this football game, and it'll take you for a while. Eventually, you got to win it on talent and how you effectively execute during the game, but you can ride the emotional roller coaster for a little while in a football game.
You saw Spiller there on the sideline, not available today because of a hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I think that offensive line's got some confidence now, too, and this is a line that's used 5 different combinations this year as Harper cuts it back. And again, the offensive line for Clemson knocking Georgia Tech off the ball. That's something that the Clemson offensive coaches wanted to see, and they're getting it on this drive. Take a look at our answer to the Aflac trivia question for this week. How many FBS schools other than Georgia Tech use the word university? What do you think?
I'm flexing. Other than Georgia Tech, 3. The academies. Boston College. You know what? The fourth one thrown in there. I wasn't. It fooled me in the truck this morning.
Georgia Tech player right in the backfield. And the ball comes out. Harper lost it. Georgia Tech recovers. Recovered by Derek Morgan for Georgia Tech.
Boy, as a coach on both sidelines, you just hope for a clean game. And by that, I mean penalties as well as turnovers. And let's just say this has been far from clean. We had the fumble by Georgia Tech, and Jonathan Dwyer, their fullback, put it on the ground. And now it's Jamie Harper who puts it on the ground, recovered there by Derek Morgan, the talented sophomore defensive end for Georgia Tech. So back and forth are these two teams in terms of turning the football over. That's the third turnover for Clemson in this game. 2 interceptions and now a fumble.
Dominique Reese has accounted for 2 of those turnovers with a pick and then the forced fumble. Nesbitt trying to find a hole, can't. Wrapped up and thrown down. Ricky Sapp, Stanley Hunter there for Clemson.
Boy, great penetration by Ricky Sapp, and they had some success. This is kind of labeled as the freeze option. Watch him start one direction, freeze the defense here, but then come back to the other side. His eyes are looking this way. Now you see the body, and great penetration by Jarvis Jenkins up the field, making Josh Nesbitt redirect a little bit, and Ricky Sapp there to clean things up. Great job of playing team defense.
Nesbitt able to slip a tackle and lower the shoulder into Cavell Connor and drive him forward to about the 46. That's a gain of about 7. It almost was a loss as Stanley Hunter was trying to chase down Nesbitt.
Well, you have to really be patient against Georgia Tech and Paul Johnson because he'll 3-yard you to death. And right now they're right back in a situation of 3rd down and 3 or 3rd and 4. to where you get about to midfield. They get to 4th and 1. They like their chances, especially right around midfield. So it takes patience defensively. Hadn't had much success in this game. 0 for 4 on 3rd downs.
Nesbitt throwing back to the other side of the field for Demarius Thomas, and he's tackled immediately. He'll come up about 4 yards shy of the 1st down. Again, Cavell Connor there for Clemson. Kevin Alexander in on the flick. Clemson flying to the football here in the 2nd quarter on defense.
Yeah, Cavell Connor, he has had a solid season thus far for a first-year starter on this Clemson defense. And we talked about it. You have got to stay in your area of the field. Trust your teammates defensively when you play against this type of offense. I think so far they're doing an outstanding job defensively of defending.
And they're going to fake it here. They snap it right to the up man, James Lippert, and he is very close. I think his knee hit at the 50, which means he's short.
I think he's going to be just short. If he keeps his feet, he's going to get the 1st down, but he stumbles. They mark it right on the 50-yard line. It's going to be Clemson football.
Boy, that tells you how much confidence Paul Johnson has in his defense, that if they don't pick that up, putting Clemson in midfield, he's not that concerned.
Well, when you have the number 6th ranked defense in the entire country, I think you got a little confidence in them. And right now, Clemson offensively, they just can't seem to get out of their own way.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why Cullen Harper's in the game. They're going to measure here, but our yellow line is usually pretty darn accurate. It's off a little bit there, but he did not get the 1st down. It's Clemson football.
Boy, he just stumbled. Otherwise, he's going to pick up the 1st down. He tried to dive for it, and you'll see here just the knee goes down right there. It's going to be Clemson's football, but they trail in this football game 7-0.
Great tradition here at Clemson where they rub the rock before they run down the hill, and it is a tradition that's admired by many here at Clemson.
When I touched the rock, I felt famous, and I felt so excited.
I felt just like one of the players getting ready to run down the field.
I've never touched the rock, no. I wouldn't touch the rock. I think it's a thing for only the football players to do.
Most exciting 30 seconds in college sports.
I touched the rock, and I felt like we were going to win that day.
Well, Frank Howard, who is the former head coach of the Clemson Tigers, as that pass is dumped off to James Davis down the sideline for the 1st down. Howard had that rock sitting in his office for a couple years, and eventually somebody took it, and he wanted it thrown in the trash, but somebody decided, let's make a shrine for this thing, and we'll have the players rub it and run down the hill. And Howard once said, if you're going to give me 100%, feel free to touch that rock. If you're not, keep your dirty hands off it.
Yeah, I like it. I like the tradition of it, one of college football's best traditions, rubbing the rock here at Death Valley in Clemson.
So 1st down for Clemson. Play fake for Cullen Harper, and another throw that's on the money. 1st down, Tyler Grisham on the catch at the 22. Pat Fitzgerald, the youngest coach in college football. Dabo Swinney not far behind at age 38. Interim head coach in his 1st game. Watching Jamie Harper take it inside the 20, 2-16 for a gain of 5. Right now, Clemson on the move. Georgia Tech's offense held to just 62 total yards. Ahead, Andre will wear it out on midseason coaching changes. And later we'll take a closer look at some of the games coming up this afternoon and tonight, including Texas #1 against Missouri. Boy, Cullen Harper, since he's come in the game, the offense moving the ball better. And Harper looking downfield, has Ford, and it's ruled incomplete. So he was out of bounds.
I'll tell you what, when you look at Clemson offensively, they've struggled, tried to run the football and get this offensive line going. You mentioned the fact that they've had 5 different offensive line changes, but look how close this is from Cullen Harper to Jacoby Ford. Man, just tap that right foot down, but he's just out of bounds. But sometimes you have to throw your way into being able to run the football, and Georgia Tech sitting in that box nice and tight. Talented defensive tackles as well as defensive ends, and going to soften them up a little bit with Cullen Harper.
Willie Coyne started the game through 2 interceptions, may have hurt his shoulder, so Harper's in there and he's going down. Dragged down by Cedric Griffin at the 23-yard line. So 4th down, and Clemson will try a field goal.
He's really come back to be a good player for them. He's come back from a broken leg that he suffered as a freshman, and I'll tell you what, he's done a pretty good job. Broke that leg in 3 places. Just glad to have him back on the field healthy, and he's performing for Georgia Tech defensively.
Hoffer also suffers from a medical condition that causes severe sinus infection. Didn't take his medicine last week. He had 2 seizures last week, but obviously he's okay and playing today. 40-yard field goal tried by Mark Buchholz, and Clemson is on the board. Buchholz 7 of 7 on field goals this season. Clemson within 4. Andre will wear it out on midseason coaching changes when we come back. Within 4. And Dabo Swinney either forced to go with Cullen Harper because of an injury to Willie Corner, just ineffectiveness, faced with his first major move as a head coach, changes quarterbacks in the second quarter, and Cullen Harper leads them down the field for 3.
Don't know whether Willie Corner was injured on that pass deflection by Derek Morgan or not, but I'll tell you what, Cullen Harper has stepped right in and done a pretty good job in that drive for Clemson when they really needed points.
Jonathan Dwyer up to the 20-yard line. I'm not aware it out. 1 of 2 editions of Andre's down. Well, Tommy Bowden officially resigns. Many people feel he was forced out or would have inevitably have been forced out. What's your take?
Hey, you know, it doesn't matter if he was forced out, fired, however it went down. The guys that are affected are the players on the field. They're the engine that makes this thing move in college football. And we get coaches fired in the NFL at midseason. You know what? That's fine and dandy. Let's leave it there. It has no place in college football. You think you're signing up to play for a guy for 4 years, you at least thought I'd be able to get to the end of the season before that stuff happens.
Nesbitt to throw. Georgia Tech with no passing yards in this game, and that'll continue. Michael Hamlin with the sack on Nesbitt at the 10. Well, Vic Koenig staying on as defensive coordinator, and we talked with him for a while yesterday, and he said Tommy handled everything with such class. But you could see it in talking with Koenig and with talking with Dabo Swinney, the head coach. The assistants are affected as much as the players are.
Well, it sends everybody scrambling, so to speak. You know, you got GAs that become full-time assistants. Now you got the receiver coach who becomes the head coach and the co-offensive coordinator. Everybody now doing jobs that you're not used to doing during the season. You're not equipped for that in college football.
Nesbitt taking off and got maybe 4 yards. So it'll bring up 3rd down and long.
Well, you know, I just think it's an undoing for the kids on the field who come to these programs. They make it up, and I think it's unfair to the kids, especially at midseason. You've got to shuffle the cards. Now you're getting plays called as a quarterback from that position. There's a rhythm in play calling. You can't get yourself adjusted in a football game with a new coordinator.
Andre, someone argued that the players had a lot to do with the decision that Tommy Bowden is not here, that the players had too much say, that they were complaining about Rob Spence, complaining about Tommy Bowden. After Bowden's let go, Cullen Harper pipes in with a comment, so does C.J. Spiller, as Dwyer is loose in the secondary, across the 35, and pushed out of bounds near midfield as he gets the 1st down. Dresden Butler chased him out of bounds at the 45. But just to finish that point, it seemed like the players had a lot to do with this because Terry Don Phillips was allowing them, the athletic director was allowing their voices to be heard.
And which should never be the case in a situation like this. I think you got to gather everybody up and you go to the coaches if it does indeed come down to this type of situation. But kids should never be speaking out about changes that are made from the top. Never should happen.
And I think, too, with all the different types of media we have out there and the players' comments, you're in a small town like Clemson, South Carolina, where anything the players say is going to get printed and talked about ad nauseum. Nesbitt has a man wide open. Ronnie Jones inside the 25 to the 20-yard line.
Well, we talked about leaving your area of the field, and you got to play man-to-man when you face this Georgia Tech the offense. You got to be in man-to-man. That's right there at the top of your screen, the corner. They run the switch route, bring the wide receiver down and inside, and the slot receiver goes right off of his backside down the sideline. If you get sucked inside, it's going to leave that wheel route wide open down the sideline, and Roddy Jones made him pay.
Rick Koenig not happy, giving up the big play there, 35-yard pass play. Dwyer stumbles to the 15, so he gets 5 yards on 1st down. Tonight, ESPN and ESPN2 with 2 college football primetime games. Ranked opponents on the road. LSU going to South Carolina. Can they bounce back after that loss to Florida? Virginia Tech going to Boston College. The Eagles playing well, 4-1. Virginia Tech has not lost since that opening game defeat to East Carolina in Charlotte. South Carolina, a team that Tommy Bowden had a lot of success against, was 7-2 against them in his tenure here. 8 straight winning seasons, but no ACC titles for Tommy Bowden. And big reason why he's no longer the head coach.
Well, just take it and quarterback sneak. And you know what? A lot of people, we showed a graphic earlier. We'll get it back here for you about this offense and the criticism of Paul Johnson's offense. Hey, it can't produce big plays right there. I think we just witnessed 2 in a row. You can't score quickly. They are on the march right now. They can't work in the ACC. Hey, they sit at 5-1. I think those they want to do a little crow eating right now.
And they do need 2 wins to be bowl eligible because 2 of their wins already against FCS schools, and by rule, only 1 of those count officially in terms of being bowl eligible. Big 3rd down and 1. Best drive of the day for Georgia Tech. Here's Dwyer, pinballs forward to the 1st down and more to the 8, tackled by Stanley Hunter, and struggling. Here's Nesbitt to the 5-yard line. He got 4, and Georgia Tech has 2 timeouts remaining. They'll take 1 left for the Yellow Jackets. Paul Johnson trying to stretch the lead to 11. Right now, it's a 4-point advantage. Back on top and a 2nd down and goal at the Clemson 5. 9th play of a drive that started at the 20-yard line. Here's a pitch. No, it's Nesbitt keeping. What a fake by Nesbitt. He fooled the entire Clemson defense. 5th rushing touchdown for sophomore Josh Nesbitt, who missed the last 2 games of the hamstring injury. You see his importance to the Yellow Jacket offense here in the 1st half.
Yeah, he's been nursing that hamstring for about 2 games now, and then they lost Jabo Shaw as well. So he played in the last 2 games, but he was knocked out. And against Gardner Webb, they were down in 3rd and 4th-team quarterbacks trying to get the job done.
Blair puts it through, and it's 14-3, Georgia Tech.
Let's take a look at this. Watch the fake here. Triple option, Josh Nesbitt right here. You're faking it into Jonathan Dwyer, and you see all the bodies condensing down inside. You got to play your area of the field. We've been talking about that. Josh Nesbitt pulls the football and now able to walk it in. Let's take a closer look at this. You see it right here as everybody condenses down on Jonathan Dwyer. Look at all the orange jerseys right there inside, and then pulling the football. Josh Nesbitt out and around the end, walks himself into the end zone. It is an offense that if you don't stay assignment perfect, they will make you pay.
Now, as a quarterback, Andre, how do you do that? How do you stick the ball in there? I mean, it looked like Dwyer was going to grab it. How do you stick it in there and pull it out that quickly so the running back doesn't grab it?
Well, it's a feel thing. He can grab it at any time, and it's a pressure deal. If you're pushing it into him, he knows to go ahead, clamp down on it, and take the football. If it's just kind of in there and sitting, and he doesn't feel the pressure, there's a chance that you might pull it. And once, as a quarterback, you read that the tackles, defensive ends are condensing down inside, you take it away, and now it's just you and the end man with a pitch man. And if they get you in that situation, it's hopeless for you defensively.
As you saw there, Chris Clemons totally got turned around waiting for the pitch, and it was an easy touchdown run for Nesbitt. And the key play on that drive was a 31-yard run by Jonathan Dwyer on 3rd and 16 from Georgia Tech's 14-yard line. Short kick going to be taken by Gilchrist. He's across the 35-yard line, has the kicker to beat. And what a play by the kicker, Scott Blair, dragging down Gilchrist. That's the 2nd tackle for Blair today.
Marcus Gilchrist will not live that one down in the film room tomorrow, because he let the kicker, Scott Blair, track him down. Took a good angle on him. It looks as though he's pulled up, maybe a muscle pull, but I'm thinking he's gone here. You see Marcus Gilchrist, nice move, and to get to the outside now, you just got to eat up the angle of the kicker. Hey, credit Scott Blair on that one for not quitting and taking the right angle to catch a much faster Marcus Gilchrist.
So 21 seconds left. Clemson with an opportunity to get points here going into the locker room because of that return.
Well, you get a 1st down, and you've got one of the better kickers in the entire country set up.
Harper going deep for Ford. It's underthrown, and it's intercepted. picked off by Morgan Burnett, the 4th Clemson turnover.
He's really been playing well. Morgan Burnett can play both corner and safety. They've moved him inside to the safety position at strong safety at 6'1", 198. Watch him play the ball here. Ball skills, go up, try to get it at its highest point, and then able to come down. Good job of concentrating to bring the football in as well. He got about as much vertical on that one as you, Dave. Not much air time there. Did you see the reaction? Yeah, of Cullen Harper.
He's upset because, again, with time left, you just make 10 or 15 yards and you got a shot at a field goal. And now you give it up with a turnover, the 4th pick for Burnett this year.
Well, you got that safety up high like that. That ball's got to be drilled in there as opposed to lobbed over the top. You lob it, you give the safety a chance to make a play.
And Burnett did. Nesbitt out to the 19-yard line. And that'll be the final play of the first half. Well, how did Dabo Swinney do in his first half as a head coach?
There was some good things. The previous drive before that last one, I'm thinking about a D, maybe a C-, the first half of this one.
This team trails 14-3. Oh, this is going to be a pass, and he throws it right to a Georgia Tech player. It's picked off by Dominic Reese, and he's going to take it in. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. Well, new coach, but more of the same offensively for Clemson. 4 turnovers, 79 yards total offense. As we welcome you back to ESPN College Football, presented by Cars.com. Only 4 touches for James Davis, 4 turnovers, 1 pick that you saw return for a touchdown. It's 14-3 Georgia Tech. And really the biggest issue with Clemson is the offensive line, and that's been the problem all year.
Yeah, when you lose 4 offensive linemen and then an All-American in that group, and you think you're just going to replace them, it's easier to replace a quarterback, a stud running back, a big-time receiver than it is to replace an offensive line. That's basically what they had to do here at Clemson.
Well, Clemson had to replace a quarterback as well. Korn, who started the game, hurt his shoulder, and his return is doubtful. So Cullen Harper, who was benched by Tommy Bowden, and then that decision ratified essentially by new head coach Dabo Swinney when he took over on an interim basis this week. But Harper getting the bulk of the work in the second quarter. He did lead them on a drive that resulted in 3 points, but threw that pick at the end of the half.
Yeah, there was a point in time when Georgia Tech just had just 32 yards rushing. You see that changed. The total yards have changed. They've added some passing yards in there as well. Only 1 turnover, and that's been the big difference in this first half. The 4 turnovers by Clemson. They can't really get themselves started because every time they get going, a turnover happens. And Georgia Tech set up perfectly in good field position. So take care of the football. That's the chore for Clemson in the second half.
Mark Bunkholtz to boot it away to start the second half. Jonathan Dwyer for Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets 5-1 on the season. Dwyer tripped up at the 15-yard line by Chris Clemens. Jeff Burton looks to bring momentum from his win this past weekend in Martinsville, while Jimmy Johnson fights to maintain his points lead and hold back a hard-charging Chase Field. It's the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continuing at Martinsville on ABC Sunday. NASCAR Countdown at 1 Eastern. Jimmy Johnson on the pole for the 2nd straight week. We get to do that because of the weather situation last week. Got that for you tomorrow on ABC. Tonight on ABC, number 1 Texas faces Missouri.
You tell me you raced around Phoenix going that fast. Is that true?
Not going there. Here's Nesbitt, and he keeps it out past the 20-yard line. Ricky Sapp bringing him down to the 21. I'll tell you what, that kind of racing, that kind of speed we'll see tonight in that offense between Missouri and Texas. Colt McCoy against Chase Daniel. They're good friends. Who do you think is going to win that one?
Yeah, I don't know. It's Missouri's a little angry after last week's letdown to Oklahoma State. Chase Daniel turned it over 3 times, 3 interceptions in that ball game. I don't expect him to play that way tonight. I think Missouri may sneak out of Austin with a victory.
If Texas were to lose, that means we'll have a 5th number 1 team. Remember last year all those upsets as Dwyer gets the first down. There were 4 number 1 teams throughout the course of the regular season last year. There've already been 4 this year. Texas Tech in trouble right now playing against A&M. Penn State has Michigan later today on ESPN.
You look at just the top 8 teams. Oklahoma State been impressed with the job that they have been able to do this season. Last week, a big win against Missouri and continuing their winning ways. But right now, Clemson can't allow this Georgia Tech offense to get itself started. Got going pretty good at the end of the first half. Played well against it early. We'll go back to that train of thought.
Here's the pitch to Dwyer, a flag down, and Dwyer knocked down by McDaniel. Not on that list we just showed you, by the way. Most of you know by now, since it was 2 days ago, BYU losing to TCU, so BYU's hopes of a BCS at-large over, and the first BCS standings will come out tomorrow. And I think the big surprise, we saw a mock standing that Brad Edwards put out of ESPN, and USC looks like they're going to be in the top 5, and right now they may be the best set up one-loss team to play for a national title.
What's good about that, Brad is not very far off at all when he's able to kind of sort through things, and he comes out with his poll, and it's closely Brad Edwards to where the BCS standings will be.
Illegal low block against the offense. Number 36 blocking back toward the ball. That's a 15-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
Lucas Cox, the guilty man. Brad Edwards does a great job with all of our research.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be interesting. Obviously, a lot depends on what happens in these games today and tonight with Penn State in action and other undefeated teams as well. Texas, although you think Penn State would roll at home against Michigan, even though Michigan's beaten them 9 straight times.
I think that's going to change today. That Penn State football team is pretty good. We got a chance to see them up close and personal a couple of weeks ago. Penn State and Joe Paterno have it going.
Here's Nesbitt, and he's not afraid to take on defenders. Gets back to the original line of scrimmage.
Well, he's a big guy in there at 6'1", 215 pounds, and built stocky in the legs, and not afraid to take on linebackers and defensive backs when he breaks through the first and second level of the defense.
At 4 o'clock tomorrow is when the first BCS standings will come out, and the formula, computer ratings are a third, and then the USA Today and Harris Interactive polls, AP polls, not a factor. And at least one team in the initial top 2 has played for the title every year since 1999. There's Nesbitt, and again taking on a defender. He runs right over Chris Clemons, and he's a couple of yards shy of the first down.
Well, that's that second level we talked about. And you get to the second level, and now it's me and a linebacker, and Nesbitt's not afraid. Show the ball to the fullback, Jonathan Dwyer, right there. Everything crashes down. There's a nice little crease in there. And now it's the linebacker, Brandon May, and Nesbitt. And they actually moved the pile forward.
Nesbitt is about 215 pounds.
Yeah. This is where they love doing business right here. 3rd down and 2.
And a timeout called.
It's like Paul Johnson, the head coach, who calls the place, didn't like the formation.
That's their first timeout.
So 3rd down and 2 when we come back. Georgia Tech leading 14-3. Trying to improve to 6-1 on the season, leading at Clemson 14-3. The debut for Dabo Swinney, the interim head coach, taking over for Tommy Bowden, who resigned this week. Clemson's 3rd down defense, 11th in the ACC entering today. Tech 2 of 7 so far. Nesbitt will keep trying to get to the outside. And he does. Great run to get the first down by Josh Nesbitt. He outran Michael Hamlin.
Well, you get just a little bit out of position, which Michael Hamlin did. He came crashing down inside. His responsibility is the edge, be an edge player right here. You see the angle, he takes a bad angle. Now you got to chase a pretty, a quarterback with decent speed of Josh Nesbitt. You watch it here in real time. It's a nice play fake inside, and now trying to get to the outside. Been able to keep his balance and still pick up the first down. Georgia Tech moving the football.
12 consecutive running plays by Georgia Tech. And now a pass. Down the sideline. Incomplete. Intended for Roddy Jones. Take a look at some of the spread offenses exploding on the scene in college football, the first of which you know very well.
Well, they're all over the place. West Virginia led by Pat White, who's dangerous with every touch of the football. Then you got Rich Rodriguez, who left West Virginia for Michigan, and they kept the spread. They're dangerous. Penn State runs the HD spread offense to perfection. They do a nice mixture of running and throwing. And then you got Florida with the playmakers. Tim Tebow, he getting it out in space. And then you've got the spread option, which basically or essentially is the triple option of Georgia Tech.
Here's Dwyer. The ball came out at the 44-yard line. Darrell Scott, who has been tremendous today at defensive tackle for Clemson, stripped it.
A lot of bodies around the pile. I don't know how the officials ever said this.
Clemson ball.
Clemson comes up with their second turnover of the game. And that's one thing that plagued this Georgia Tech offense during spring practice. A lot of balls on the ground, and they were doing a lot of pop-ups and up-downs, are what we call them, where Paul Johnson, that was his method of punishing for turnovers and putting the football on the ground and mental mistakes. But that's not going to sit well with him as they meet tomorrow. They're able to come out of this one.
And right now they've got James Davis lined up at quarterback.
Well, he only touched the football 4 times in the first half. This is a way to get the football in his hands.
He's running the option. And he got maybe 2, downed by Kyle Jackson. All right, you're in your first game as the head coach and offensive coordinator. Talking about Dabo Swinney. Upstairs, you get Billy Napier calling plays for the first time at Clemson. He did call them 1 year at South Carolina State. Would you keep it more traditional, or would you? We saw trick plays in the first half. Would you be doing what he's doing?
Well, if you're having offensive line problems, the easiest way to solve them is to let kids line up and come off the football. All this trickery, we saw it. It resulted in turnovers. Now you got James Davis trying to line up at quarterback. Just too much stuff. Line up and get a little more traditional.
Well, they are trying to get Davis the ball. Here he is on the screen, and he does well, picking up the first down to the 33. Mario Butler shoved him out.
Well, that's what I'm talking about right there. Find a way to get James Davis, who is your playmaker offensively, get him the football. Line him up, let him go downhill, play action passes, him leaking out of the backfield. That's the way you move the football if you're the Clemson Tigers.
And remember, they had only a few days to really game plan with the new staff. They found out Monday. Dabo Swinney told us that they were in a coaches meeting when Terry Don Phillips, the AD, walked in and revealed the news that Tommy Bowden was resigning, and that he was going to be the new head coach. He told in front of everybody as Jamie Harper tries to find running room, and there's not much. Tackled at the 32.
Well, that's the hard part about changing coaches mid-season, especially on the collegiate level. When you start talking about play calling, there's an art to play calling, a rhythm that you get in, an adjustment of what the defense is doing and how they're facing you. And when you're doing it for the first time, to switch in the middle of the season like that, fire your offensive coordinator, that's tough going right there. I mean, that's self-inflicted pain, in my opinion.
Well, Rob Spence was let go, and one of the things that they're doing differently, the offensive linemen are most often lining up in a 3-point stance. When Spence was the offensive coordinator, they would always be in a 2-point stance. So now you're giving the offensive linemen something else to think about this week. As Harper is going to the end zone, and it's a touchdown! Underthrown, but Aaron Kelly adjusted. Jahi Ward-Daniels on the coverage is injured in the end zone.
Yeah, he comes up. It looks like a hamstring injury. This ball is underthrown by Cullen Harper to Aaron Kelly, and Jahi Ward-Daniels right there. You could see him grabbing the back of his leg and can't really stop to plant and drive back on the football. And it looks like one of those low hamstring type injuries. And unfortunate for that kid, but Aaron Kelly, good job of concentrating on the football, coming back. And we mentioned how important this drive was for Clemson, their first of the second half, to get themselves right back in the football game. He's holding it long before that football's delivered. He cannot plant, can't stop to come back and make a play on the football. Don't know if it's a cramp or if it's an actual hamstring pull, but that's tough.
Word Daniels, a junior from Hoover, Alabama. Aaron Kelly's first touchdown catch of the season. He is now 2 away from becoming Clemson's all-time leader in that category. He's already the all-time leading receiver in terms of yards at Clemson. And coming into this game, he needed 24 yards to become the all-time leading receiver in ACC history. And he's got 55 in this game, so he's now the all-time leader in this conference. And he breaks Des White's record. White played at Wake Forest. So Buck Holtz on for the point after. White at Georgia Tech, excuse me, I said Wake, and then Georgia Tech. Extra point try is up, and it is good. So Clemson, after the turnover, converting with a Harper touchdown pass, his 5th of the season, and Clemson back within 4. They got some grits there for you, Andre.
Cheese grits, I like them.
I can't eat them, but I'll tell you what, I might try that.
I can eat them.
Yeah, I saw you the other day throwing some down. We've been, for the last few weeks, having a special recipe from a tailgater, and Amos Green is going to tell us what makes his grits special after the kick. Jonathan Dwyer from the 6-yard line. He runs into his own man at the 20 and take it down to the 22. Listening closely to Amos Green of Myrtle Beach's grits recipe.
Good God, good grits. You can start with almost any kind of grits. A lot of stirring, at least an hour of cooking, butter. I tell you, all these people have heart attacks and stuff. But a lot of butter, like 6 sticks of butter, stirring constantly. Never let it go less than 2 minutes without stirring, and milk. Hey! Everybody ready for grits?
I think my heart stopped just listening to that recipe.
Send some of those grits up here. I'll do the taste test on the grits.
I might be doing the rest of the show alone. Nesbitt and Key. And again, Terrell Scott there for Clemson. Gain of 2 or 3. Daquan Bowers also in. Another top 10 team in trouble. Quincy Kelly in trouble there. That may be 1 or 2 as Cavell Connor made the stop for Clemson. Fans on their feet for 3rd down. Tigers within 4. 3 defensive catches for Georgia Tech in the first half. 2 on offense. 4 Clemson turnovers in all. Andre will wear it out a second time on what the role of a coach is, CEO or teacher. And later, the big one tonight on ABC. Top-ranked Texas against Missouri. Texas Tech, number 7, in trouble at Texas A&M right now. Georgia Tech, 3 of 8. This is a 3rd and 4. Nesbitt slings it for Earls, but he couldn't hang on to it. Incomplete. Would have been a first down right through the wickets.
Well, it looked like Corey Earls tried to run before he caught the football. Little gator arms as well, just trying to reel it in real quick, get himself turned around. He had enough for the first down. Little hitch route, ball was well thrown to the outside shoulder. Just got to make the catch.
Clemson with all the momentum. And going to get the ball back, likely with decent field position.
Going to have some pretty good field position, to be quite honest.
All depends on that guy right there, Blair, who's saved at least 1 touchdown today with a special teams tackle. Going to be fair caught at the 37-yard line. The fans can't believe it that Ford fair caught that, because he had at least 10 yards of running room.
And a couple of blocks set up in front of him.
And Dabo can't believe it either. Tonight on ESPN and ESPN2, you got a pair of good ones. At 8, 13th ranked LSU taking on Steve Spurrier just down the road, couple hours in Columbia. And over on ESPN2, Boston College plays host to Virginia Tech. College football primetime on ESPN and ESPN2. There's a penalty flag down. Georgia Tech's offense is back on the field. So perhaps an offside call on Clemson. Or was there running into the punter there?
There's been a little acting job by the punter. A couple of plays Scott Blair has been involved in, and A touchdown-saving tackle.
Here's Dwyer straight ahead. Powers into the secondary to the 48. He got 15 yards.
Here's the flag right here. The punt's gone, and then a little running into the kicker. Nice little acting job by Scott Blair. And the flag comes out. It's going to be became a first down for Georgia Tech. Then a nice run up the middle by Jonathan Dwyer.
Yeah, but Nelson Fairburn, what's he going to do there? He had already punted it. It was about 3 or 4 seconds after the punt.
Just a good acting job.
But even then, the officials got to be paying attention. That was 3 or 4 seconds afterwards. Nesbitt ahead into Clemson territory to the 46.
Well, this crowd certainly, they're not on board with it. A lot of boo birds here in Death Valley, but check it out. Just a nice punt, and he's just rolling. Now the flag's going to come in, and you see the flag right there. That is terrible. Terrible call right there by the official.
He's been the MVP for Georgia Tech. Saved a touchdown at the end of the first half on a kick return. On second down, first man through, penalty flag down. Dwyer stopped near the first down marker.
Another flag down, and this one may be a block in the back.
Jock McKissick made the tackle for Clemson.
When Eagles shift on the offense, backs moving and not trying to take this steady. 5-yard penalty, beat it down.
So it moves it back to second down and 9.
Now this is where you have a Georgia Tech offense uncomfortable when you get them in long yardage situations. Basically, you talk about a first down play that went for 1 yard, and now at 3 yards in a cloud of dust that Paul Johnson's not afraid of working with. Well, that gets tinkered with a little bit.
Nesbitt gonna throw. Pass is too tall for Demarius Thomas. It'll bring up third down and long. This is where Georgia Tech struggles. As you said earlier, Andre, they love third down and 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Most teams struggle in third down 8 and 9. Georgia Tech especially struggles here.
Yeah, when you have a 48% passer on the year in Josh Nesbitt, then you're going to struggle when you get in long yardage situations. This is an offense that when you get them in these types of situations, as well as playing from behind to catch up, they really, really struggle.
Nesbitt pressure. Pass downfield, incomplete. 2 players in the backfield for Clemson. Thomas, the intended receiver, covered by Clemson, or by Clemens.
Once again, Ricky Sapp, who's had an outstanding game for the Clemson defense in the face of Josh Nesbitt, which forced him to get rid of this football a little bit faster than he really wanted to. Really didn't have time to set his feet, and had to deliver the football. A nice post route by Demarius Thomas, their outside receiver, but he gets beaten. Their best offensive lineman, Andrew Gardner, he gets beat outside by Ricky Sapp.
Blair's kick will bounce at the 6 and go into the end zone. Clemson will start at the 20. They survived that penalty for running into the kicker. 80,000 here letting the officials hear about it. The hot seat the minute he took the job at Clemson 10 years ago. 2004, they started poorly, finished strong except the loss to Duke, and then in 06 they started 7-1, got to number 10 in the country, and then lost 4 of their last 5. 4-0 start last year, lost to unranked Georgia Tech, started this year by losing to Alabama big, although the Clemson coaches told us they felt that they were overrated, and clearly just watching today you can see that Clemson should not have been a top 10 team. There have been many mistakes in the preseason polls. James Davis doing some work here in the second half, out to the 28-yard line.
Well, he must have heard the word in the booth, because the word from here was get the football to James Davis, and all of a sudden it has turned around. 8 first half possessions, 79 total yards, had 3 turnovers. The last drive, 44 yards, and the end result, points at the end of it. Get the football in that young man's hands and let him work.
Davis has 3 touches this quarter. He had 4 the entire first half. Cullen Harper in a quarterback for the injured Willie Cam Davis with another touch and another Tiger first down out to the 35. Give Dabo Swinney and the coaches credit for making that adjustment, Andre.
No doubt about it. Now you got that offensive line, the makeshift offensive line, a young group up front. They can just come off the football. You take the thinking out of it for them and allow them to get those big bodies into the line of scrimmage, move the line, let James Davis do some work behind them. I think they've got the right recipe here.
Davis again, and this time wrapped up and thrown down by Vance Walker. You know, you and I were discussing whether it was justified to let go of Tommy Bowden, whether you want to call it resignation or firing in the middle of the season. We both felt no, it's something should happen at the end of the year, but we also thought too that maybe the people here in Clemson think a little bit too highly of their program. Now, it is probably the most crazy football school in the ACC, almost like the SEC, but seems like the expectation's pretty lofty. And Tommy Bowden averaged 7 or 8 wins a season. Here's Jamie Harper getting some action with the injury to C.J. Spiller.
Well, they got hit in the mouth a couple of plays defensively. Georgia Tech, this Clemson offensive line, all of a sudden it kind of woke them up a little bit. And James Davis getting the football, they get a first down, and they try to go to Jamie Harper. All of a sudden they find themselves in a 3rd down and long, 3rd and 9. Got to protect Cullen Harper in order to throw the football here. Otherwise you run the risk of those two outstanding defensive ends and Michael Johnson and Derek Morgan getting to Cullen Harper.
Clemson just 1 of 7 on 3rd down. Penalty flag down.
This is like a delay a game here. And Dave, you were talking about lofty goals and the expectations of this Clemson program. You know, I think maybe a little bit too highly ranked to start the season. You looked at James Davis and C.J. Spiller and Cullen Harper coming back.
Prior to the delay, timeout Clemson, first timeout of the half.
And a senior quarterback coming back in the form of Cullen Harper, but everyone forgot about they were losing 4 offensive linemen, which is hard to replace.
And, you look at the record of Tommy Bowden, you compare it to the previous 10 years, and they're similar. They haven't won a national championship since '81, haven't won in 15 years an ACC championship. And, yes, that's what Tommy Bowden was hired to do. But, again, 7 to 8 wins a season at a place that traditionally, other than that '81 national championship, it's not like they've been in contention every year prior to his arrival for a conference title. No losing seasons. And, again, if they make the move at the end of the year, doesn't win the ACC championship, okay, give you that. But again, the timing, though, and who it impacts, the players and the assistant coaches in particular.
Just kind of sends everybody scrambling, from players to coaches. Now, we mentioned it earlier, grad assistants become full-time assistants. I was wondering, do they do that turnaround in terms of paperwork when you become from a grad assistant to a full-time guy? Now you're getting a different paycheck. It's good for those guys.
A lot better paycheck.
You're not getting a paycheck pretty much as a grad assistant.
Well, with the move of Tony Franklin getting fired midseason at Auburn and the stuff going on here, it is almost like it's becoming like pro football. As that pass is caught by Ford and fumbled out of bounds. He did have possession. It'll remain Clemson ball. Mario Edwards popped it out for Georgia Tech. But going back to your point in the first half, Andre, it seems like we are moving towards, and the salaries are a big reason why, moving towards more of pro football, like in terms of how the coaches are handled in terms of their roles. They're not just teachers in college football. A head coach is almost like a CEO now in college football.
No doubt about it. And you know what, in fairness to Clemson, yeah, you should compete for an ACC title in a 10-year window. And I could see it from that side of it, but I just thought the timing's bad at midseason.
Harper gets away from a Georgia Tech defender and throws it full. Aaron Kelly on the catch inside the 40.
All of a sudden, Cullen Harper has got a hot hand, and if you're Dabo Swinney, you ride that horse. You ride the hot hand of Cullen Harper right now. It seems the outside receivers, Jacoby Ford, Aaron Kelly making plays. He gets tremendous pressure. This is just a flat-out good athletic play right there. Making a guy miss, buying yourself a little bit of time, and then completing the pass, keeping those eyes down the field.
There was Darrell Richard on the sack attempt for Georgia Tech. They go back to Davis, who leaps over a defender and gets to the 31 for 6 yards. You know, Reese, it goes back to what we were talking about with Clemson and the preseason rankings. They shouldn't have been 9th. Wisconsin should not have been 13th. Allen Everett's really struggling at quarterback. Kelly with blockers, and Green in front. Touchdown, Clemson! Sweeney's motto is all in, and they're all in here in the second half. They lead after trailing by 11 at the break.
Well, you got a young, energetic coach, and I don't know who made that call, if it was Billy Napier or Dabo Sweeney, but it was the perfect call against that defensive unit. You had plenty of blockers out in front of Aaron Kelly. All he had to do was turn it up the field and race for the end zone.
8-play, 80-yard drive. Buckholz with a point after.
Well, check it out right here. You get a nice job of positioning. You see the left tackle, Chris Hairston, a nice kick-out block on the corner, Mario Butler, and guys working down the field. You see the big guys out in front. Nice screen pass set up perfectly, blocked up well, and now just let Aaron Kelly do his thing.
You see the center, Thomas Austin, leading the charge of blockers downfield. Dabo working here in the second half as Sweeney's Tigers have a 3-point lead after Cullen Harper's second touchdown pass today. Harper playing well this half after struggling in the first half. Coming in for the injured Willie Corn. Aaron Kelly with 2 touchdown catches and 18 for his career, tying a school record.
He has been big in this game. He, along with Jacoby Ford, have had some flashes, and then I thought they've done an excellent job of getting James Davis involved in this game as well. When you can run the football, no play-action pass, you keep those guys close to the line of scrimmage, complete some passes down the field. Now you get the screen package working, and Clemson playing with a lot more emotion here in the second half.
Speaking of emotion, look at that. When we sat there for an hour and 10 minutes with the head coach, Dabo Sweeney, and admittedly, we thought, you know what, they're going to play it safe. They're not going to tell us much because of all that's happened here. They're going to play close to the vest, but he just kept going on and on about what he wants to do with his program.
Put his cards right out on the table.
Key play on that drive, a 16-yard pass on 3rd and 9 after a disputed timeout. Georgia Tech wanted a delay call as Tony Clark's forward progress delayed by Chris Clemons at the 22. Well, we talked about whether you're a CEO or a teacher. I'd say that's a teacher right there.
Yeah, you know what? If you're building a program, it's all about teaching. Until it's built, you're going to teach. When it becomes a program that's built and has some foundation and stability, that's when you can become the CEO.
Georgia Tech goes back to work now, trailing a late pitch, and Dwyer not even going to get back to the 25. McDaniel with the hit.
Looked like Josh Nesbitt may have come up a little gimpy after that play.
You touched on a little bit. You say at first you're a teacher, then a CEO, but if you're an athletic director, aren't you thinking, hey, you're a CEO first?
Well, I'm thinking if I'm trying to build a program, that you have to have a teacher there in order to build it. And not until it's built do you become the CEO and you kind of become hands-off from the program. You got to be there working, grinding, teaching players each and every day until you can work to turn it over to your assistant coaches.
I think, though, when Michigan hired Rich Rodriguez, they're hoping he's the CEO. And Jonathan Dwyer gets nothing there at the 24-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and long.
Well, Rich Rodriguez is more of a teacher than he's got to be because he's got guys in places that aren't fitting his offense. So he's going to be a teacher long before he becomes the CEO at Michigan. Now you've got an emotional game. The crowd is back and involved heavily. And Paul Johnson doing a little bit of teaching of his own right now, as well as Dabo Sweeney.
Pressure coming. Nesbitt trying to hit Thomas, and the catch is made. Forward progress will be the 31. He's going to be short, though, the first down. Byron Maxwell on the tackle.
Actually, because Josh Nesbitt couldn't set his feet, the ball actually drew Thomas back a little bit beyond the first down marker. Had he thrown it, he would have had the first down, but he had to come back to the football just to secure the catch. Watch it here, and this is actually a pretty good job. You see him drive past the first down marker, but the ball brings him back, and to stay between the ball and the defender, he had to come back to the football. That's what brought him back just inside the first down marker.
So Georgia Tech, when we start the fourth quarter, will be punting away. An 11-point lead is evaporated. Clemson on top, 17-14. And give credit to first game head coach Dabo Swinney for his halftime adjustments on offense. Clemson with 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. And it's a 3-point lead for the Tigers. We're back here starting the fourth quarter. Jacoby Ford tackled inside the 15 after that great punt. Dominique Reese made the tackle. Scott Blair has been the star of the show for Georgia Tech, the kicker.
Shaking things up in the ACC.
And that'll get everybody back in, and including Clemson, if Clemson can come up with a win today in the Atlantic Division. As Harper gets out to the 15. We touched on it right after the last drive. Dabo Swinney made some adjustments at halftime. First game as offensive coordinator with the Rob Spence being fired, and they got back to just being simple, right? In the third quarter?
Simplified things, started running football a little bit with James Davis as well. You kind of got to get yourself in a play calling rhythm as a play caller, and I think he's done a pretty good job of doing that as well. And part of that's just simplifying things, allowing players to play.
And allowing James Davis to touch the ball. Harper's in the game at running back now. Play fake. Harper passed behind the intended receiver. Incomplete. Ford was the intended wideout, and the pass was nowhere near him. Coverage by Morgan Burnett.
Well, you can see the big difference in yards per half here at Clemson in the second half. 126, just 81 for Georgia Tech, and that's been the biggest difference. They were outgained a bunch. Georgia Tech winning in that category. Now Clemson with the lead and the advantage in total yards in the second half of this game.
That punt, huge, because Scott Blair pins Clemson deep.
Change field position, and now you're down third and long. You may want to make sure you take care of the football right here.
And movement on the offensive line. And that was a net 55-yard punt. It went 48 in the air and a -7-yard return.
Prior to the snap, false start, 71, offense, 5-yard penalty, still third down.
Jeff Burton looks to bring momentum from his win this past weekend to Martinsville with Jimmy Johnson fighting to maintain his points lead. The chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues on ABC Sunday with coverage beginning NASCAR Countdown at 1 Eastern Time. Of course, on ABC tonight, Texas, the #1 team in the country, the 4th #1 team this year. First time Texas has been #1 during the season in some 20 years. Of course, they were #1 after the season 3 years ago when Vince Young won a national title. Looking for running room is Harper on 3rd down and long, and he's out to about the 17-yard line.
Well, they had success with a screen play to Aaron Kelly. The last possession, the result was a touchdown. Tried to fool Georgia Tech. They were prepared for it there, screening underneath to Jamie Harper. A little different version of the screen, more of a middle screen. And they were there, kind of sorted things out defensively. Tony Clark makes a nice play one-on-one against Jamie Harper.
Well, the punt game has been a major factor today. Georgia Tech turned it over on a punt. And now it's Mainer's opportunity as Dawson Zimmerman was replaced by him in the first half. And this is a returnable kick for Roddy Jones. Excellent field position for Georgia Tech at the 43. Marco Hamlin made the tackle.
Well, let's take a look at the ACC season thus far. We mentioned that Maryland leading Wake Forest early in their ball game.
Clemson lost, of course, week 1. Middle Tennessee State beat Maryland. Miami losing to Florida. ACC, though, back Carolina, even though Brandon Tate's out for the year, 5-1. Virginia Tech hasn't lost since that opening defeat against East Carolina. Georgia Tech 5-1. Wake 4-1, but a loss today would bring a lot of people back into things in the Atlantic.
Mention the fact it's actually creeping close to the fourth quarter. Maryland Wake, with Maryland leading 19-0.
Nesbitt going deep, nobody home. Not on the same page that time with Roddy Jones. So going for the jugular there on first down with a deep pass.
Well, they'll take a shot every once in a while. They'll give you the fullback and Jonathan Dwyer a bunch and run the triple option a bunch, and then all of a sudden they'll show it and drop Nesbitt back, but just no one in that area of the field when he chose to try to go deep to Roddy Jones. He was basically the only player around, but he was about 15 yards away from the football.
Rick Koenig, the defensive coordinator, hoping his bunch can come up with a stop here. Another pass play. And a flag down. Nesbitt's pass caught. Thomas with a first down grab at the 20-yard line.
I think this one's coming back. Got flags, a couple of flags down, and this one's going to be a holding against Georgia Tech. They're going to find themselves. They were playing.
Miguel Chavis was getting held that time.
Yeah, they were behind the down and distance marker already. Now they're way behind it.
You heard the whole stadium making noise as that took place.
71 offense, 10-yard penalty, still second down.
And it's kind of tough to fool 80,000, football knowledgeable fans. They know a hold when they see it. And the official had a little pressure to throw the laundry on that one. Death Valley, they know their football in these parts.
Nesbitt keeping on 2nd and 20, and tackled by Darrell Scott, who has been the man on defense for Clemson today.
You got to be assignment perfect against the option, and you hit the nail on the head. Darrell Scott has played an outstanding football game. The senior from Columbia, South Carolina, Ridgeview High School, has sat in there in the trenches and fought all game long.
4 tackles, 1 for a loss, and a forced fumble. Nesbitt going deep. Thomas is down there. Right through his hands. Incomplete. What a throw by Nesbitt on 3rd and 14 as Thomas got behind Chris Chancellor.
Boy, this is right through the hands, and he's going to wish that he had this one back. Thomas on a deep post route, and it couldn't have been thrown any better. A little short arm right there.
There's no one that was going to hit him. Why would you short arm it there?
Just leave the hands out there. The ball goes right into the hands, and you see him look back, takes his eyes off the football for just a split second.
And you see that sometimes when you think that a safety's coming to level you and you're going to have barbecued ribs, but there was nobody around him that time. Maybe the goalpost.
Hey, he's a big play guy against Duke. Had 9 receptions for 230 yards.
And the punter has been terrific today. And again, Scott Blair with a great kick. Ford has the fair catch. It's inside the 15-yard line at the 12. Thomas and Georgia Tech just inches away from taking the lead. But as it stands, it's a 3-point deficit at Clemson. One of the best young receivers in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and he's still upset with himself after dropping a sure touchdown on the last play.
We always look at this as a game of inches, but here's an example in the passing game. Right here, if he extends his hands this way, the ball's going to drop right into his hands, right into his mitts. But there, he just pulls them in just a little bit too early. And you see the fans' reaction. We always think about this being a game of inches in the trenches in the run game, but that's an example of it happening in the passing game.
Clemson back to work on offense. Not much running room out to the 15-yard line.
Well, here's
Jamie Harper, and so it'll bring up second down and about 8.
Here's an example of really needing to protect the football. 11.5 minutes left. You're trapped down inside your own 20-yard line. You can't have a turnover in this situation, or you set Georgia Tech up for a field goal and the tying of this football game. So the field position battle right now still favors Georgia Tech.
Saw Paul Johnson there, the head coach, also calls all the plays on offense for Georgia Tech. Harper's pass incomplete, ruled incomplete, intended for Davis. Ford actually the intended receiver with Morgan Bennett right there.
All right, Dabo Swinney can breathe a sigh of relief because that one was close to being a lateral. Just kind of out in front, just out in front of the intended receiver, James Davis.
Jacoby Ford.
Excuse me, Jacoby Ford. But now is where you really got to get the football out quickly, but protect it as well. Because a turnover here would swing the momentum tremendously.
Low snap. Harper setting up the screen to Davis, and he's grabbed at the 18-yard line by Darrell Richard. Got a hold of his jersey, and it's 4th down. Clemson will have to punt.
We got to tuck that jersey in. Darrell Richard may not have even gotten a hand on him, but he's a smart guy, good football player. The prime example of a student athlete. You see it here. You see the jersey out of James Davis right here. Now I've got something to grab a hold to right there. The bottom portion of the jersey, he's strong enough to just grab him and yank him down. That one's tucked away. I don't know if he gets a grip on him, and Davis may go for a first down.
Instead, it's 4th and 3.
I was talking Darrell Richards. He is the prime example of a student athlete, graduated in just 3 years at Georgia Tech.
And a bad kick by Dawson Zimmerman. They give him another shot. Jimmy Maynard's not effective, so Zimmerman, who was benched in the first half, comes back out for that punt. And Georgia Tech's going to have very good field position right around its own 40. College football on ABC continues with Saturday Night Football. #1 team in the country, the Texas Longhorns, coming off that huge win against Oklahoma, taking on Missouri. Saturday Night Football presented by Southwest Airlines on ABC tonight at 8 Eastern. Can Missouri bounce back after its loss to Oak State?
I think so. I think Chase Daniels is fuming a little bit from last week's performance, and he may just go right down into Austin and fix things for the Missouri Tigers.
Colt McCoy, many would say the leading candidate for the Heisman Trophy right now. Running play, Dwyer to the 43, got about 3 yards. Although that's going to continue to change each week, depending on how the quarterbacks play in the Big 12, because right now, outside of Javon Ringer, the Heisman Trophy candidates are really all in the Big 12.
I think Colt McCoy's just got to win, and he can bring it home. He is a guy that watched mature at Texas, started as a redshirt freshman, and a tremendous amount of pressure playing in that state for that university, and he has handled it about as good as you possibly can.
Brandon May shaking up there for Clemson. I don't see Missouri going to Austin tonight and beating Texas. Don't see it. 2nd down and 6 for Georgia Tech on its 43. Nesbitt with the option, and great job by Clemson. Nesbitt loses about 6 yards as Stanley Hunter had him with nowhere to go.
Well, here, you know, you talk about being a teacher, and now Dabo Swinney catches the punter. Zimmerman walking off the field. Dawson Zimmerman makes him go back onto the field and run off. You know, that not on my watch. That's the example there of teaching what you want done in your program until you can get to the position of becoming a CEO.
And you heard Swinney just, or saw him anyway, point to his head, telling his secondary, think, don't let a guy get behind you on 3rd down and 14. They let Thomas get in front of him, though, and he pulls it in for a first down at the 41. Chris Chancellor was covering on the play.
What an excellent route by Demarius Thomas down the field, slow developing, kind of lulling the corner to sleep, making him think he's going to go right back on that post route. But this one, he comes right back down the stem, and look at that excellent job of concentrating and coming back to the football, keeping the ball between you and the defender. That's a great job of playing football right there.
His arms were out that time, made the catch after the drop on the deep ball on the previous possession. Great throw, though, by Josh Nesbitt. You think of Georgia Tech as a running team, but Nesbitt is a pretty good thrower.
No, they are a running team that can throw it every once in a while.
Now, when he does, though, he's accurate.
They're not going to make a living throwing the football.
The Clemson coach has called a timeout, issuing a challenge as to whether or not the player had control of the ball and he was inbounds. That's a timeout, Clemson.
So if that is upheld, he'll only have one timeout to work with the rest of the game. Looked like a catch. Looked like he completed the catch as he went down.
Initially looked like a nice job in terms of getting his feet down as well as controlling the football. Right there, nice catch, making sure that he got the football down, and I think that's a catch, no doubt about it. I don't know what the coaching staff is seeing. He's got possession right there. He gets forced out of bounds and comes up with a pretty good catch.
You know, it's hard to tell. Did he have possession?
Oh, yeah, right there. He's got possession of the football. And possession doesn't always mean into your body.
Yeah.
It's controlling the football.
Yep.
And he's clearly had control of the football there.
Yep, he did. So that should be upheld. Although we've been surprised this year.
We've been throwing a curveball. We were expecting a fastball, and it just snapped off the curve on us.
But if it is upheld, that will leave Clemson with just one timeout remaining. And Georgia Tech going in right now for at least a tie. Although still some work to do. The ball at the 41-yard line.
Take another look at it. Demarius Thomas right here. Nice job of working the sideline.
After review by challenge, the call on the field stands. It is a catch. There's a charge timeout against Clemson. That is their second timeout of the half.
Well, we'll go back and take a look at the one he should have caught for a touchdown right here, where didn't extend the arms, got a little bit short right there, just brought him in a little bit too early. And then how about the look on the sideline when he did a nice job working the sideline, extending the arms, catching the football with your hands. Nice job of making up, and you know what, going back to him. Credit Paul Johnson for going right back to his playmaker, Demarius Thomas.
And he gets 23 yards on 3rd down and 14. 3 catches today for Thomas. He's missed the game this year. That was against Virginia Tech, their only loss. Georgia Tech's 5-0 when he plays. From the 41-yard line, big hit as Jonathan Dwyer, the first man through, gets stoned right at the point of attack by Brandon Thompson.
Well, you want to make it a long day for Georgia Tech's offense. Keep playing exactly like that. Stoning the fullback right in the hole. And that's what they've done pretty much most of the game here. He's had a run or two where he breaks off one, but they seem to reel it in, rally as a defensive line group and linebackers. They kept Jonathan Dwyer in check pretty much most of this game.
Dabo Swinney, you could see there the stress that comes along with moving a seat over, if you will, from assistant coach to head coach with the resignation of Tommy Bowden this week. Dwyer breaks a tackle and is close to the first down. The ball came out, but they say his knee was down.
Well-coached football team.
3rd down and 1 for Georgia Tech. And Nesbitt, right over left guard, easily gets the first down to the 28. Georgia Tech pretty good up front. That's a good guy to go behind the left tackle. Andrew Gardner making his 46th straight start. Injury on the play, though. A.J. Smith shaking up the left guard.
Andrew Gardner, their team's best offensive line, but you look at it, who's over the center? And if you see that sometimes as a quarterback, you just give the center pressure, just a little bit of pressure as right in there, and he goes forward and you just follow right behind him. Maybe caught Clemson sleeping a little bit there on 3rd down or 3rd and 1.
Josh Nesbitt missed the last 2 games of the hamstring. Georgia Tech's offense really struggled without Nesbitt and Jay Beauchamp, their backup, getting hurt last week against Gardner-Webb. They had to block a field goal at the end of the game to hold on to beat them by 3. Offense back on track this week. Dwyer's over 100 yards. He's got 104. There have been some big plays in the passing game as well for Georgia Tech. They got a first down inside the 30-yard line. 7 minutes to go, trailing by 3.
A.J. Smith, their team's guard, 6'7", 305, started today on the right side. Good to see him walking off.
You gave the head coach, Dabo Swinney, about a C- or a D first half. Is the grade improved in the second half?
Yeah, he's at about a B right now in the second half of this football game. Made some nice adjustments. Went to his playmakers and Aaron Kelly and James Davis. Nice job of adjusting.
Here's Dwyer straight on to about the 25. Tripped up by Darrell Scott.
I think they've got bigger concerns right now as this clock's ticking down. Georgia Tech got bigger things on its mind rather than just tying up this football game.
107 today for Dwyer.
It made him earn every one of them, though. He's broken off a couple of runs, but aside from those two big ones that come to mind, he's had a tough going of it.
Nesbitt gonna keep and gets swarmed at the 24-yard line. Michael Hamlin, the first man there for Clemson.
Well, this is one that he should have given to Jonathan Dwyer, and Dwyer standing in the middle of the field with his hands up, and Josh Nesbitt chose to keep it. Everybody kind of flows outside. You're going to see the flow of this defense go outside here, and they forget about the fullback. Look at that. Now he's saying right up the middle of the field. He may have had one guy to beat in Cavell Connor, but aside from that, it was that play should have gone to Jonathan Dwyer.
Nesbitt's been pretty good on third down this quarter. One of those incompletions was a drop in the end zone by Thomas on the deep throw. He's going deep again. A defender falls down. Thomas on the catch. And it's a touchdown.
All you ever want as a football player is a second chance to right a wrong. And Demaryius Thomas right there, nice job of beating man coverage on the outside. Gets right here, you see him manned up, nice little hitch and go, and he gets behind the cornerback. You can't, he's a big time receiver, big body. You're not going to make up ground fast enough that close to the goal line. Excellent job.
Chris Chancellor got burned on that. Extra point good, and again Nesbitt on third down showing his passing acumen.
Well, you see the no catch here by Demaryius Thomas earlier, misses the bit deep post route. He makes up for it here with a nice hitch and go and grabbing the football, getting the end zone. Georgia Tech up 21-17.
Where a maze happens, and trying to negotiate the maze of an up and down week with a new head coach, getting a game plan together with a new offensive staff, and then the ups and downs of this football game here today with Georgia Tech. And now everything squarely on the shoulders of Dabo Swinney with his team down 4 here in the final quarter. Ford's return out past the 25 to the 28. We said this is where a maze happens. Let's take a look at where amazing happens.
On the outside in the form of Demaryius Thomas right here. The little hitch and go. He gets Chris Chancellor to bite on the hitch, and he forgot about the go, and Thomas makes him pay. Nice job there, setting it up. They caught a couple of little hitches earlier. Now you get the hitch and go work and little pump fake, and you sell the defensive back on it, celebrating the end zone.
And we apologize for our corny comments so far here in the fourth quarter.
My man, always on top of it.
First down, only one timeout for Clemson. And Harper's pass intended for Harper, not even close. Or Davis, excuse me, Davis the intended receiver, and it'll bring up second down and 10.
A chance to see what Cullen Harper's made of right here. Just your team just went down. You need a drive right here. Time's ticking down right at about the 5-minute mark. And not bad field position, but it's not excellent either. So now you got to drive them down, try to punch this one into the end zone.
No points in the fourth quarter in the last 2 games for Clemson, both losses. And out across the 30-yard line is Davis to the 32, tackled by Derek Morgan. So that'll make it a little bit more manageable of a third down, but still 3rd and 6.
Davis, a talent. They fed him early in the second half of this game. Needed to feed him a little bit more. first-team All-ACC 2 consecutive years. Talented football player.
No C.J. Spiller today, out with a hamstring. They expect him back in their next game. They've got a bye, and then they'll play at Georgia Tech and then at Florida State in back-to-back weeks. How about Florida State? Now 5-1 after that win against North Carolina State on Thursday. Clemson just 2 of 10 on third down. Harper, and it's a first down catch by Kelly out near midfield. That was big for Cullen Harper, the preseason ACC Player of the Year, who was benched last week, getting a chance to play with the injury to the starter Willie Korn, finding Aaron Kelly for the first down.
Well, he has that big frame, big body receiver, tall, and just got in deep inside in there in the slant, caught him in the second window, and tell you what, that's tough to defend against.
Play action for Harper, has time, and he throws into double coverage. It's incomplete. Boy, he had Ford about 10 yards downfield, past Berry, the intended receiver. He elected to go for the underneath route, and it's incomplete.
Yeah, Rashid Reed, the true freshman, who has been in nickel packages. You had the injury. Jahi Ward-Daniels, he went out of it and went out with that hamstring. And all of a sudden, you've got the true freshman back out there who has an interception to his credit already in this ball game.
Harper to the air again on second down, has Davis in the flat, and Davis cannot make a man miss. Dominique Reese with a great play in space, and it's third down and long as that play lost 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah, he's a pretty good football player back there. First-year starter. Recorded his first interception last week and then added to it this week with an interception early in this ball game. Actually returned it for a touchdown.
He also has a forced fumble in this game. Third down and 12 for Clemson. Only one timeout remaining for the Tigers. They lost a timeout because of a failed challenge a few minutes ago. Harper's been great on third down so far.
Boy, big down here because Georgia Tech gets the football back and they can really chew up a bunch of clock.
Harper in trouble. Eludes Derek Morgan. Goes downfield, incomplete. Trying to hit Tyler Grisham.
Well, now it's decision time for Dabo Swinney, because you know what lies on the other sideline over there in Paul Johnson and that offense. And so you're not going to get a whole lot of opportunities if you indeed punt the football here. So this may be one where you need a little time to think it over.
You don't have time. You only have one timeout left. Don't want to use that now. Great effort by Morgan. Ooh. A little late hit there maybe by Mason Cloy. I don't know if it was late, but I don't know if it was legal.
It's illegal when you got to play till the whistle blows and always keeping your head on a swivel. And he's going to burn that timeout. I thought maybe you got to have the right play called in this situation. Even do we have enough time to maybe get a stop and punt the football? A lot of decision time right now for the first game coached by Dabo Swinney.
Isn't it dangerous there to burn your timeout? Because now if you don't get it, if you still had the timeout, you got a chance to get the ball back with a little bit of time left. Well, but now with no timeouts, you're barely going to have any time if you get it back.
What did he tell us yesterday?
We got nothing to lose.
All in.
Yep.
He's pushing all his chips in right now in this situation in the ball game.
Coming up on ABC, about 30 minutes away from Oklahoma trying to bounce back against Kansas, or Ohio State, Michigan State on ABC. College football countdown presented by Nissan gets underway at 3 o'clock. Oklahoma at home against Kansas, and you would think that the Sooners would bounce back with a win there. What about Ohio State, Michigan State? That should be a good one. And Todd Reesing having a fine season, and of course Bradford, a Heisman Trophy candidate.
Well, you just look at that. Look down that ranking in terms of quarterbacks and where they're ranked in passing yards for the season. That is amazing. First, third, fourth. We got Colt McCoy in there.
Here we go. 4th down and 12. Clemson out of timeouts. And now Georgia Tech will take a timeout.
You know, if I'm Georgia Tech and I'm Paul Johnson thinking defensively. I may come after Cullen Harper in this situation.
They've had success when they've done that so far in this game. 12 for the Tigers, who trailed Georgia Tech by 4. Dabo Swinney's debut as interim head football coach with Tommy Bowden stepping down this week. Made some nice adjustments at halftime. And hoping that his senior quarterback, Cullen Harper, can make a big play here to keep the drive alive.
All the chips are in right now.
Harper with a rollout. He's got Ford open. It's caught inside the 30 for a first down.
Wait a second. We got a flag down.
Penalty flag in the backfield.
Georgia Tech's Daryl Richard basically saying he's calling holding for the officials.
Holding on Clemson. Wow. That negates about a 20-yard gain.
Holding, 5 offense, 10 yards, previous spot. Repeat fourth down.
That's on the center, Thomas Austin.
Boy, what a bad time to, no question about it. Check out the middle of your screen here. And it's Thomas Austin. There's the center right there in the middle. Just keep an eye right on him. And he's just about beaten. I don't know. That one right there doesn't look much like holding unless the defender was trying to get up. And he grabs a hold of him at that point. But that's a tough one.
Well, they got 27 on 4th down and 12. Now it's 4th and 22, and the play clock didn't reset. No timeouts remaining for Clemson. Well, Dabo calling plays for the first time along with Billy Napier for Clemson. Not much in the playbook for 4th and 22, although that last play worked.
You're reaching deep trying to convert on 4th down and 22.
Another timeout called by Georgia Tech.
We have a timeout, Ted. That's their 3rd and final timeout of the half.
All right, what are you telling your defense here if you're Coach Johnson here?
Basically, you're trying to keep everything you possibly can in front of the first down marker. You can allow them to complete a pass. Don't get fooled on a double move. Don't bite and have a pump fake beat you for a first down. Keep everything in front of that first down marker.
Clemson hanging around down 4. And you know what, Andre, you got to give these players, Coach Swinney, the assistants, for having to get together against a 5-1 Georgia Tech team, a game plan, and come back from 11 down, show a lot of emotion, come back and be in a position to win the game they're trailing now. I mean, you got to tip your hat to what's been done here.
You really do, because you talk about a 5-1 Georgia Tech team, but this is a team that's going to give everybody fits just by what they do offensively. You don't have enough time to really prepare for it, let alone Clemson having 4 days with a new coaching staff pretty much to prepare for Georgia Tech. So my hat's off to Dabo Swinney, win, lose, or draw in this one.
And the players certainly have bought in to him based on the effort they've given today. 4th down and 22. Clemson out of timeouts. And it's a short throw. It's the hook and lateral. And James Davis not going to get the first down, and then he pitches it at the last second. It's recovered by Georgia Tech. Well, they started the game with trickery, and there was a end-around throw by Grisham that was intercepted by Dominique Reese and returned for a touchdown. They try to end the game with a little trickery on 4th down and 22. And they turn it over on downs.
Oh, a tough way to go, and game's not over. You know, you can force a turnover of yourself. They forced a fumble in this game themselves, but you see here, Cullen Harper going to throw it out and swing it out, trying to hook and lateral it out to James Davis. And I think if James Davis is able to get that one back and pitch it back to Aaron Kelly, he may go for a first down, but he misses out, and Georgia Tech actually comes up with the football.
That's the athletic director, Terry Don Phillips, there talking with Dabo Swinney. And it's possible with 2:25 remaining here that Dabo Swinney, certainly possible he's going to lose his first game as interim head coach. Still time, though.
You know what? That's not a place for the athletic director. Go up and sit in your nice, suite and take the game in up there. Yeah, let the coaches coach. And if you want to coach the football team, then put on a headset and get it done. But you need to be upstairs in the suite entertaining the alums.
He does normally stand on the sidelines, even with Tommy Bowden down there. Here's 2nd down and 8. Nesbitt will keep, and he spun forward to about the 43-yard line. So it's possible if they stop them, they get the ball back with a little bit of time. But, of course, if Georgia Tech gets the first down, this game's over.
And that sends a message as well to the next coach, whether it's Dabo Swinney or whomever, of just how much influence an athletic director is going to have. Quite honestly, if I'm a guy out there, I don't want the athletic director breathing down my neck. I've got other options. I'm going to exercise those rather than come to a place where I'm going to be micromanaged as a football coach.
Nesbitt going to keep. He's not going to get the first down. So it'll be 4th down, and they're going to have to snap the ball with about 20 seconds left. Well, they started the 40-second clock a couple of seconds late, so it's only going to be about 15 seconds left when Georgia Tech runs its 4th down play. And Paul Johnson's team 30 seconds away from going to 6-1. They would still need one more win to be bowl eligible because 2 of their wins are against football championship series schools. And only one of those count towards bowl eligibility in the bowl subdivision.
Yep, 3-point win last week against Gardner-Webb, 10-7 victory. Looks like they're going to get out of here with a 21-17 win, 4-point. You know what? Doesn't matter. A win is a win is a win. And
still
Georgia
Tech,
play, though. Yeah, still another play.
15 seconds left. Yeah,
a play or 2.
Georgia Tech's going to punt the ball after the delay of game, and you would assume Clemson will come after Scott Blair, and Clemson might get 2 plays on offense depending on how much time ticks off here. Clemson going to send all 11 after the punter. And Blair gets it away. And Georgia Tech just going to let the clock tick down and not touch the ball. It comes dead with about 3 seconds left. So 1 play remaining for Clemson. Now, I know they're hoping to get 2 plays out of it.
Yeah, sign of a good, well-coached football team to allow it to run down. Don't run down the field. Tap it where you allow for 2 plays. Now it's just 1 play for Clemson. You defend it, you go home, you got 1 in your back pocket.
Well, he just ran the hook and lateral and didn't work. That might be the only thing you try here.
Look for the tip drill here is where you're trying to tip one up in the air and have another receiver maybe come behind you or in front and catch it, sprint for the end zone.
Here's Harper, likely the final play of the game. Pass is overthrown, intercepted by Morgan Burnett, which I guess is a fitting ending to this one because it was the turnovers for Clemson that did them in. Georgia Tech now 6-1, beating Clemson 21-17. Andre, your final grade on Dabo Swinney and the job he did today.
Well, I'm going to have to say about a C when you grade the overall game. I thought he made some nice adjustments in the second half, but the first half they never really could catch up from it. Took a lead, allowed Georgia Tech back in it. So I'm going to overall grade a C.
Clemson falls to 3-4. 21-17, our final score. Georgia Tech wins. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Tune into ESPN News for our postgame extra in a few moments. ESPN College Football Scoreboard presented by Acura is up next. For Andre Ware, our entire crew, I'm Dave Pash. Now to Reese, Mark, and Lou in the studio.
This telecast is available in high definition. Brought to you by Pioneer's new Kuro.